So we're going to pick up where we left last time. We're holding now in the middle of, is going through this Hayom Yom that the Rabbi is going through. The Seder is that there's the Shittas HaPardis, there's the Baal Shem Tov, and then there's the Vort of the Alter Rebbe. And what the Rebbe is going to do is explain how really the Alter Rebbe is a biur on the Baal Shem Tov and the Pardis. Well, the Fizeh, really the Alter Rebbe is saying, that our Rebbe is saying a fourth Mahalach, which is a totally different approach to the ganze Sugi. So, if I'm not mistaken, last time we just went through the Pardis and the Baal Shem Tov. We didn't even get to the Alter Rebbe. So let's just go through very bekitzer what's the Pardis and the Baal Shem, and then we'll begin to understand the pashtus of the Alter Rebbe. There's an issue. On the one hand, it says, is because that Yidden, by davening, have to know to be mechaven to the correct Shem of the Eibishter. And in Kabbalah, the taich is that there are different names for the Shem Alekim, there's Shem Shakai, Kel, Aleka, for every inyan. Specifically, every tefillah in Shemini Esrei, there's different shemas. Now, besides for having different shemas, there's also Shem Havaya could be spelled in different efanim, so there's different tzirufim, or different nikud for Shem Havaya, which also is keneged Shem Kel, Leika, B'chum. So, on the one hand, you're supposed to be mechaven b'Shem. Le'iduch state that that when you turn to the Eibishter, Kumuven, you have to thinking about the Eibishter and not about the Midas. So, how do you do both? So the way the Pardes dealt with this sugi is that it was mechalek zwischen chesed and chazdon, or chasid. It was mechalek zwischen the keli and the eir. When I'm talking bepashtos that a person has chesed, so that is not him. He possesses midas ha-chesed. Even technically, you could take chesed and you could have it as a tchuna. You could write a story of Ave, you could write a song of Ave. It becomes like there's a musik called chesed, which I have and you have. And then there's another thing, the I love, the I which is behind it. And there's in Havana, and there's in anything. There's a svara, and then there's I getting the svara, which is the nefesh behind the tzir. What we would call in the language of Kabbalah, the way the Eiris come into the Keli. Because the Eiris are really all one. Ad kidei kach, like it says, really one Eir could come into another Keli. So the I, the Pshitas HaNefesh is one, coming into various tzir. Like the Hagdara that we say, the Pardes says, there's Chesed and there's Chosid. Chesed is not me, but Chassid is me. It's the way I am in the tzir of Chesed. So if you call me a Chassid or you call me a Chacham, both times you're referring to me. Obviously, you're referring to me in a different tzir, but it's me. You're talking to me. The Fizeh is the Pardes Miyashiv, the Chiluk. On the one hand, Elov V'Leila Midaysav, don't get stuck in the Midas. When you dive into the Eibishter, you have to talk to the Eibishter. That's the Eiris. Le'idach, we can't be talking about the Eibishter Ma'amish Atzmus because you have to be Mechaven B'Shem. So that means is the way the Eibishter is Mitzuyir in a certain way. In Havana, it's not just up to Maimer Azal that we have to be Mechaven B'Shem. If we want to reach the Eibishter, the way it's going to be for Hashpah, for this Inyan, if we want Chesed, so I can't talk to the Eibishter with the name of Gvura. It's like the Tzemach Tzedek says, you're reaching the Melech when he's not in the storehouse. There's no, he doesn't have the money on him. So Be'emes, you're asking him for a much bigger favor to leave wherever he is. He's in the middle of dealing with a mishpat. You're talking to the sire of the mishpat, and you have to go now and change a ganze maisa. So that you're not reaching the Eibishter. What we want to do is get the Eibishter the way he is in this tzir. The emes there's another knetch over here. It's not just technically that we want Kilu, to find the Eibishter the way he is already in this tzir. The idea of Shem means to be mamshich. That's what Shem is. Like when I call a person's name, so he turns around. Or when I say a person's chacham, it's ma'erer his chacham. So al derech zeh is, it's not just that the name is the right address to go to a certain place. The name is the way to make the Eibishter come into this place. So the Eibishter is taka pashat. But when I say this certain name, that helps the Eibishter, that helps us be mamshich the Eibishter into this place. And that's the idea of Hallel and all the Psukim de Zimra, bringing the Eibishter into different kelim through calling his names. Adkan is the Pardes Bekitzer. Now there's a word of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov says that the Lekus was in kelim. So the Pashtus is, the Baal Shem Tov is saying the same thing as the Pardes. The Pardes said the Eiris in the kelim, and the Baal Shem said the Lekus in kelim. But the Tzemach Tzedek proves, and this is the Mamorim that we have copies of. It's in Efshasesi to Shmeiru, in Kudetera Bekitzer, and it's in the Yosef in Vayikra Mubariches, and it's in Eratera, even longer. You have in Shmeis, you have in Shalach, in Yisrael. Explains Pasha, it doesn't make sense that this is what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. Why? So let's just say one technical reason. He's more ma'arif, but one simple hasbara. Because the shittas Baal Shem Tov goes with shittas Arizal, and the Arizal holds that the Eiris are all Shem Havai, not the Zayin Shemesh and Mechakim. So maybe you can't be that you're being mechaven b'Shem in the Eiris because it's Pasha not true. Muslims are talking about kelim. Fragt sich the Shaila, kelim is not a love leila midesov. I'm talking to Eibush, I'm talking to Midas HaChesed. So the Tzemach Tzedek explained, we use it on the word of the Alter Rebbe in the Siddur of kad antistalik minay v'shtar kula keguf and v'lo nishmasan, that the guf exists independent of the nefesh, meaning the spheres exist independent of the Eiris. Why? Because they have their own sheirish. And this is the yesod that Alter Rebbe was megale. It's a mechudesh dike mahalach understanding, and it's a yesod in Chassidus Chabad, that the kelim come from Rishim. Meaning to say that the tziyur which we have is not just an expression of bli gvul, nor mitzad the Eibishter gvul exists independent of bli gvul. Because the Eibishter is not more bli gvul than gvul. Yeah? The Eibishter is gvul just like he's bli gvul. Because the Eibishter is bli geder, not bli gvul. And Ochashkin tells us, I think we went through this last time in Bissel Mer Ba'arucha, and that's the chidush of Iyu v'garmei chad over Iyu v'chayet, which means as a higher sheish. So, and the Santa Vord, the Rebbe Rashab once said that the reason he opened Tenchet Mimim is in order to bring out that the Sheirish HaKelim is from the Rishim. In other words, well, I mean, what does that mean? That Gvul hot ha'inyan b'fnei atzmei. It says the pashtos, the way people look at Chassidus is inyan of bli gvul. You have Gvul. So you were looking for the fire, for the bli gvul which is behind the Gvul. I don't mean the lulav, I mean the nafshama, I mean the Eibishter which is behind it. Don't get stuck on the details. Kum the Alter Rebbe is not the name. The Eibishter is not more in the bli gvul than is in the Gvul. The Rishim, the Kelim, the Gvul doesn't come from the Eir. The Kelim have an Indian for itself, and that's the Chayis of the Kelim Atzmo. Meaning, was seinen sie? Sie sind ein Eibishter. An Eibishter not in a Tzir of bli gvul. Eibishter, wo ist Gvul? Und dort kannst du nehmen den Eibishter. which, in other words, in the Sprach of Tirchet Mimim, the musik of Seder, or the musik of structure, or Kabbalah Seil, and Seder, a Seder Nigla, and Blend Chassidus, and a Seder Masuda, these certain hours, which is all the Chura Hepech, what we would imagine is Chassidus, Zogt, the Rebbe Rashab, no. In Chabad, Chassidus is nicht Dafke Mesiras Nefesh, verkehrt. The real Havana of the Baal Shem Tov is the Chayes of the Kelim Atzma. Gvul Ale. So far, so good? Yeah? Okay. Now comes the Chiddush of the Alter Rebbe. So in Tov Kuf Nun Vav, the Alter Rebbe came down in the Motzim Kippur, and he said, as the Pardes had gesagt, the Eres in Kelim, the Hashem had gesagt, the Lekus in Kelim, which Masber means the Chayes of Kelim Atzma. Aber the Pashto Pshat is, a love l'midosav is ta'atzmus aleh. How, through a Pashto Tefillah of a Pashto Yid, you could reach Pshitas Atzmus. And that's the real Havana of a love l'midosav. That's what we're looking for. Now, this Alter Rebbe obviously is very difficult. Even Bapashtus, he didn't deal with the sugi. We had a kasha over here. On the one hand, you have to be mechaven b'shem. On the other hand, elov aleinu midosef. So what does the Alter Rebbe do? He picked one. Shkoyach. What happened to the mechaven b'shem? What happened to the need of being? I mean, ganz teres Kabbalah is mole b'davar zeh that you have to have kavanah of shemus, the richtige to be mechaven properly. So the way we have to learn this Alter Rebbe, I just want to say the pashtus. I'm going to do it in two stages. It says even before we're talking about the way the Rebbe's nu mahalach of nina ninois, there's the way bepashtus, the way I think we would learn the Alter Rebbe, and there's the way the Rebbe is madgish in Tavshin Chaf Aleph, episode the more correct way of learning it. Then there's the Rebbe's mahalach in. So, is as it. Bepashtus, the Alter Rebbe said this thing in Tovkuf Nun Vav. But 10 years later, Tovkuf Samach Vav, there was a Maimer, Isa B'Sifri, which is a very famous Maimer, and it's found all over. L'moshel, the beginning of Derech Mitzvah, Hasherish Mitzvah Tefillah is Miyusad on it. You have the Maimer in the Siddur, Shara Krishma, in the Alter Rebbe Siddur. You have it in Imre Bina, right at the beginning. You have in Mamar Morazok, Hanocha from Remeshe, and there's a difference. The Mittler Rebbe is Hanocha is from Sunday Parshas Lech Lecha, and Remeshe is Sunday Parshas Vayera. But it's clearly the same Maimer. It's mamish the same Maimer, saying being Mevai Desini. The Indian of Elov Elimites. And the way the Alter Rebbe explains the Indian over there, L'chure bepashtus. Again, I didn't see, I mean, in Radanoch's Balak over here, they're not being mitzvah into it. So, it's anachrayis. I think with pashtus, the svara yishara would be, is that when you have a pisgum of the Alter Rebbe, and Tovkuf Nun Vav, and you have a ganze mamorim being mevayed, Alter Rebbe's mahalach, and Elov Elimites, is this is a biur on that. Now, the biur of the Alter Rebbe goes like this. First, he brings Ba'arichis the Pardes and explains what's pshat that you need to have kavana to eris in kelim, and that's the whole gather of chazdon and not chesed v'chul. Then there's no mention of the Baal Shem Tov. Then the Alter Rebbe says, "Ober with avdacham leilov le'midosav atzmus aleh." So the Alter Rebbe explains this two inyan, this krishma and this tefillah. Tefillah is to be mamshich into gewisse kelim. That's why there's different brachas. Every bracha has a different shem. And the whole inyan of tefillah is hamshacha, arok zu bringen into a lower place. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're being mamshich hashpois. Krishma is achtas havai. The point of Krishma is limser nafshi ve'echot. So how does it work? That a yid sits down on his mizbeinen in the Metzias of Welt, and it goes through Ba'ariches, even say the Rishtalshalos, busy understands the Madrigas HaChochme, is Echet Nish the Eibishter, until he comes to the Eibishter is Be'emes Echot Mamish, which is Bli Gvul, higher than say the Rishtalshalos, that's the Atzmus Alein, and in the Tnu of B'chol Me'eitcha is breaking Allah Hagbolas, he rushes forth to the Chibergaben to the Eibishter, that's Mesiris Nefesh. And that's Krishna. So you need both. You need a love of Krishma, Etzem, and you and then you also need Arab zu bringen in Klyne, and that's Shmir Esr. Mer Bipratis. These are not just two Avedas, but it's Haba Hatali. The way it works is that how could I be Mamshich Hamshachach Hadoshet into Klyne is if I've reached the Etzem. So first you have to have Krishma. And Krishma is what we call Haloah. Zich übergeben, reaching the Etzem of the Eibishter. Mesirah. Einmal, ich bin dorten, so that's me'erer the Etzem, and that brings him down to become available in gewisse Tzior and Klyne v'chol. So Shmona Esrei follows Krishma. If we'll say it a bisschen besignach, the way the Mittler Rebbe says it even sharper, he says that both in Krishma and in Shmona Esrei you have the Etzem. But in Krishma, the Etzem is that I'm reaching the Etzem. I'm leaving Tzir to go to the Etzem. In Shmona Esrei is I'm bringing the Etzem down. So that's why he's Medaik. Even it says, even when you're supposed to be Mechaven B'Shem, when it says but Shmona Esrei, it says Shem Loshen Yachid. Not Shemus. Because Sof says Einer. The point is Shem Havai, it's one Shem Etzem, which I want to bring down into the Tzir. A dogma for that would be, like we were talking between it, one person relates to another person. So the Havana would be is, ich will, like we're saying, a person should come into his kelim. I want you to express your midas achesed. So if Lom is talking, you have a person which is Lapayel Mamish doing midas achesed, but his midas achesed is dry. In other words, he's giving money, he's supporting him. But he is not nimtzah behind his mitzvah. There's the chesed without the chazdon. He's not excited about it. He doesn't identify with it. You don't hear him talking in his mitzvah chesed. So what's the solution? So there has to be two stages. First of all, I have to be ma'erer the etzem. I have to come to you and talk to you, scream your name. And your name is your name, not calling you a chacham. I have to call you Reuven, and you're going to be nifnen located b'shmei. You'll turn around. You'll become available. Once this etzem is behis galos, then it could come down, and I'm here. I'm present. I'm not asleep. I'm alive. I'm fully here with you. So it's there. Come and connect with me through your chesed. So become a chassid. So that's the difference between Krishma and Shmona Esrei. Bring the etzem into Tzir. And this is the pashtus. Again, it's pashtus. It's the same Alter Rebbe. You can't separate the things. It would be very modern to say that they love Leilim Midesav of Yim Yim, and of the ganze the way it is in the Siddur V'chulu is totally different than Ma'aseh. This is they love Leilim Midesav of reaching Atzmus. Abervas. If we're careful, we'll see that there is a difference between the way it's in the Siddur and the way it's over here. Because over there it's talking about B'chol Me'eitcha. And over here it's talking about Pshitis of a Pashta Tefillah. What's the difference? The Pashtas. The Pshitis of a Pashta Tefillah is not through his bonus, which is going to be bring me to a case of B'chol Me'eitcha. It's fakir. There's no his bonus. So Aposh Yid zet sich aved zagen adavne. Is l'chore, that's the reason why the Rebbe by us in our Maimer sends us to a different place. To Pasach Eliyahu, which is talking about Hamoiru is Galus, like it says that by a Pashta Yid, that Tinekis and Pashta people say the name of the Eibishter, they're referring to the Eibishter himself. The Hamoiru is Galus. So the way the Rebbe is learning Pshat in the Alter Rebbe is not the way I would learn the Pashtus, that Vos is Atzmus is the Aved of B'chal Na'idcha, like it says in the Mamorim, nor it's referring over here to the Hamoiru is Galus. Maybe just Stam it fits very, very simple over here. It's Stam Akarev La'emes. Now this is the difference between before Peterburg and after Peterburg. Before Peterburg, the full Indian of Chabad wasn't yet in Beis Galus. So the way in Tovkuf Nun Vav, the way the Alter Rebbe is talking about Elav Elem Midei, so the Alter Rebbe is saying you have to have two things. You have to have Tziyur, but you also have to have Etzem. And the way you have Etzem is mit Pshitas HaNefesh. There's no way to have Etzem through his bonus. There's still. It's gekommen the Chiddush von Peterburg, and Tovkuf Samach Vav, the Alter Rebbe explained the Elav Elem Midei of Beifenachik. That even Atzmos, how do you reach Etzem HaNefesh? Those Gufa arbeteichen durch Seichel, durch Chabad, durch his bonus, and even Shlili of B'chal Ma'edcha, you're going to be able to reach this place of Etzem. But Al Kolponim Vinit Vi, the Alter Rebbe is saying a third Mahalach that Elav Elem Midei is Atzmos, either through B'chal Ma'edcha or through the Pshitas HaNefesh, which is reaching Atzmos. Yeah. Adkan is the Alter Rebbe. Any comments, questions? Shalom, you talking? Yeah. Okay. This is the Pashtus, the way we would learn it always. Here comes the Chiddush of the Rebbe Bosi Legani Toshachaf Aleph, which, again, we can't even call it a pshat in the Alter Rebbe. It's a fourth mahalach. You know, if we would have to say a new, we're extending the Yemien. We in Deira Shvi learned we're not therein. The Rebbe starts with a question. How could it be that the Alter Rebbe is Chelek al Rabbi? Yeah. Okay, you do we feel the Alter Rebbe in jail, he could have been free if he would have just said that hat nicht gescheicht to the Baal Shem Tov. And he didn't want to. For Rega Echad, even the Agoy should think, just to say B'dibur, it's a chish gewalt abschäden for the Baal Shem Tov. To say over here that Alter Rebbe is being Chelek is a modern Zach. The emesis, let's add, the Rebbe doesn't say this, but this selik do noch mehr by Pashtus, that the Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov are doing the opposite of what you would expect. The Baal Shem Tov is talking about the mile of Tziyur and the mile of that the Eibishter is also in Chayis and Kelim. And the Alter Rebbe is talking about Pshitas HaAtzmos to the Pashtayit. It's like this is the Alter Rebbe and this is the Baal Shem Tov. It doesn't fit with the the way we would expect. Is the Rebbe Mechadish as the word of the Alter Rebbe is reaching Atzmus. And Atzmus is Nimna Nimnois, which means Chibur Havchim. And once we understand that Atzmus means Chibur Havchim, then the Alter Rebbe is not being Chelek on the Baal Shem Tov, fakert. He's being Masbir Pshat in the Baal Shem Tov and also Pshat in the Paradis. He's coming to say a new emek in them. It's not a different derech. So this obviously needs a bit more unpacking. What does it mean? This word. First of all, b'chlal nimna ninois, and what does it mean that nimna ninois is chibur havchim? And lefi zeh will come back to our Indian over here, the way the Rebbe is masberit in the Bosi Legani. Once we have it in the Bosi Legani, so it's going to be not just pshat in the Baal Shem Tov in the Paradis, it's going to be pshat in the word from the Magid. And also, al pizeh, the Rebbe is going to learn a new Havana in the Indian of Shems. So there's going to be a new knech in what Shem means, lefizeh. Okay. So, we don't have the time to the Charayin Krich and Mamish Parchove, but just the Nekudah. There was a machlekes rishonim. Is that a teva hanimna b'chei kabeir? Is that yeah? Could I say in the Eibishter that there's certain things which are not shaykh by the Eibishter? L'mashal, to say that the Eibishter is reichev and not reichev at the same time. So you can't say that the Eibishter is not reichev. You can't say that the Eibishter is reichev. Nothing is, the Eibishter is bligvul. That's obvious. The shaila is, could you say that both are happening, reichev and not reichev at the same time? So the word is shainim, which held that there is a Indian of Nimna by the Eibishter. Yeah, why? We're not saying over here there's a gvul on the Eibishter. It's a ridiculous thing that you're saying. You're not making sense, Bechla. What do you mean reichev and not reichev at the same time? It's not chisaron. Now again, we're not saying over here is that the idea of gvul or bligvul. Obviously the Eibishter is bligvul. And the Eibishter is also gvul. Shem sheyesh lekeach. No problem. But to say that any words that you're going to say about the Eibishter could be correct, I mean, that's ridiculous. Du hast doch gar nicht gesagt. Why should I say that the Eibishter is reichev and not reichev at the same time? However, there's a Tshuvas Rashba where the Rashba says that his shit is that the Eibishter, nothing could be said about him which is richtig. Why? There's no Hagbala which is correct. Why? Because the Eibishter is not in our Asagi. So we can't make any, the Eibishter works totally different. So we're all working within our framework, the way we think what makes sense, and we're saying the Eibishter is shleimus in that. We can't have any klal. There's the term, he is nimna hanimnois. Is the Eibishter nimna? No. He is only nimna from having any nimnois. There's no nimna in the Eibishter. So the Eibishter anything could be. Now, Lefize is, we're saying over here, a chidish b'negei atzmus. When I'm reaching atzmus, it's a place where there's no klal. Nothing is correct, and nothing is incorrect. So kommt es mitzad nina nimnois l'mashal. The alle bewusste Kashis, the maskil of gefragt the Tzemach Tzedek, could the Eibishter create another Eibishter? Or could the Eibishter make himself ois? Or all these like funny questions where the answer to them with pashtus is no. And it's not chizar. Yeah? We're saying that the Eibishter is everything. If there's another Eibishter, so he's not everything. So then it's not Eibishter. Pashtus. Yeah? Could he make a stone that he can't pick up? No. The Eibishter is bligvul keach. To say that there's something which the Eibishter can't do, that's not a mailer. Why should I say that? It's not mailas agvul. And then just be magdir properly. There's a musa called mailas agvul. There's a case where we're looking for edelkeit, and a case we're looking for grabkeit. The marshal, and there's a mailer, if we're looking in a svara, the edler you're talking, or a niggin, the edler is a better nig. A hammer, if it's the edel hammer, it's a bad hammer. We're looking for grabkeit. We're looking for things to be thick and heavy and forceful. So there's a case where we're looking for gvul or bligvul or edelkeit, the grabkeit. Then there's things which are not anything. It's just ridiculous. Aber einmal man sagt the word nimna nimnois. So in Seder Shtashel, you can't say it. But by the etzem of the Eibishter, you can't say anything. Basically, you can't say anything which is not true because there's no klal. That's the idea of nimna nimnois. Yeah. Now, Chassidus is mechadish on this Indian of nimna nimnois a tifere in. That it's not just that the Eibishter is not mugdir in ganzen in Atzmus, nor that this thing gufe expresses itself in the Welt. Which, the way I would understand is that the Seder Shluchim and for sure Meret Elam Hazer is not like that. But the Eibishter allein is. Only Atzmus. But once we're saying there's no Gdarim on Atzmus, and Nimna Nimnois means there's no Klolim Mamish, there's also no Klolim that has to be in the Makom of Atzmus. Memele, wo wird der Eibischter können ausdrücken, this Pella of Nimna Nimnois, überall. There's no place that not. Or Memele, Elam Haze could also be a keli for this Indian of Nimna Nimnois. Mitzad the Indian of Nimna Nimnois Guf. So we understand this is an extra dreh. This is the word of Bechonish Toast. This is what Chassidus is saying in Nimna Nimnois. Now, Lefize, Kiyodua, the Rebbe by Fabrengens would bring this Inyan very, very often. Lefierich. I mean, in Amalek Chassidus, it doesn't exist. There's one place in Seif Chikira, the Tzorach Tzedek, there's a Maimer in Ayin Ches, which the Rebbe printed in Tofshin Yud Zayin, and Chazed the whole Maimer. It's it's in the Melukot also. It's a Maimer Ravim Yud Zayin. It's poshet a copy-paste of the Maimer in Ayin Ches, which was printed because the Rebbe gave it out with the Horus, and the Rebbe said it with the New Dibra Mask. But over there, it has the word of Nimna Nimnois. Maybe there's one or two other places. It's for sure not a classic, the regular language in Chassidus. But in the Rebbe's Torah, the Rebbe made this into Mamsha Even Pina. Literally, tens and tens of siches are used on this word, Pashat Biyurim in Avede, Biyurim in Achas Hashem, B'chol. So first of all, like everyone knows the classic, and this is Taka what it says in Chassidus originally, and this is in Ein Ches, B'chol, as Makam Aron Elim in Amid. If you would measure in the Kedush HaKadoshim, if you Bepashtos, the Aron is 2.5 amas wide, and the Kedush HaKadoshim is 10, so there should be left over in between the two sides 7.5 amas. Split it into each side. It should be 3 3/4 amas on each side. The Metzias is if you would measure on one side of the Aron, it would be 5 amas, on the other side, it would also be 5 amas. How did that happen? Because the Mokim Aron, Einem in Amida, it doesn't take up any space. So on the one hand, the din is that if an Aron is too small, it's not 2.5 amas wide, it does nicht Aron. Yeah? Le'idach, it doesn't take up any space. I think it says it Benegeh actually the depth, not the width. So it's 1.5 amas, the depth of the Aron, not the width. But Akopanim, it doesn't take, it has to be in space, or Le'idach it doesn't take up space. So that's saying nicht not as Atzmus is Nimna Nimnois. No, there's an art in Gashmis in Elam Haze, which is an expression in Nimna Nimnois, which is already Kilo Nemer, a Tifere in Nimna Nimnois Guf. And Lefize, I mean, hundreds of different Biyurim, Pashat in Aveda, how is it that a Yid can monen from them Tzvei Fakerte Tnuas is because he's connected to Atzmus, say Simcha and Sai Kabbalah Sel, or why is it that a Yid could be Sai in a Guf and in a even of a Halachta, in a Halichem Blikvul, because the Guf is a Keli for Atzmus, which in Nimna Nimnois, and why Taryag Mitzvahs could be Merumas in the Guf, that everyone spoke about Teire. The word from the Friedrich Rebbe as Kometz Aleph A is Anechi. When a king sagt Kometz Aleph A is Anechi. So the Rebbe said as Anechi is a Larankin and a Kometz Aleph A, that's Mitzad Nimna Nimnois, because Teire is Atzmus. Va'arbe Kayetz V'zeh, many Biyurim, the Rebbe was always, went back to this Nukud. Yeah. Let's come back to our sugi. So let's start with the Indian of Hashem. In the beginning of the third Maimer in the Bosi Legani Tofshin Chafalev, so the Rebbe said Motzei Shabbos, the Rebbe brings from the Tzemach Tzedek a new knech. And what's Pshat Shem? Till now we were saying Shem is like Eir, to be Mamshich the Etzem. Lefize fragt Rabbi Ashai. Pashat a technical question. Every time a name is Mamshich the Etzem, is the Taichi is that it's in order for the Etzem to come to be Mislabish Ba'aguf. Yeah, that's why we always say that for a father to be able to get the right name, he has to have Ruach HaKedesh, because it has to be the right kilo name or code to connect this nefesh to bring out the nefesh to Mislabish Ba'aguf. Like Nifna lekerev b'shmei. That's the idea of a name. So, darf man fragen nach Klotzkash. It's a it's an issue. You have a person who dies, and he's mislavish in a new guf, and he has a new name. Why does he have a new name? If the idea of Hashem is to be mamshich the etzem, and every neshama has his name, or every nivra, not just a person, every nivra, the dvar havaya shabei is his, shulchan is the name, shmesh yikra lev b'lashon hakodesh is him. So how could he get a new name? It's the neshama. Obviously, the name is on the neshama, not on the guf. So the Rebbe Mevayir that you're wrong. A name is not how to call out the etzem. A name is to be mechaber the etzem with the guf, the neshama with the guf. The concept of name is chibur, connection. So shulchan is not the asius of the dvar havaya. Shulchan is the asius of the way the dvar havaya could connect to table. And the name Reuven is how this nefesh is mislabish in this guf. If this nefesh is mislabish in a new guf, so it has a new code, has a new name. Because the name is the idea of chibur. Where do we get such an inyan of chibur havchi? Zok the Rebbe, this is an expression of etzem. It's coming from Ninan noise. So the concept of a name, of being mechaber, Sai in the Paradis, which is being mechaber Eires and Kelim, and Sai in the Baal Shem Tov of bringing out the Chayis in Kelim. And any case, whenever I say a chibur of one thing with another, which is the idea of a name, it has to be, it's coming mitzad Keich HaAtzmus, which is Nimna Nimno, is chibur havchi. Kumtes. Now the Alter Rebbe is giving us a emek hapshat in the Baal Shem Tov and the Paradis. Parts of the Baal Shem Tov said this is the Eires or the Chayis and the Kelim, which is all coming to say what's the Elav Leilam Idesa. Zok the Alter Rebbe, if you look properly at what's happening over here is Keich HaAtzmus is what's really behind this whole thing. That's what's orchestrating the kesher between the Eir and the Kli, or the Chayis and the Kli. Because only that could make such a chibur. That's the word of Nimna Nimnois. Is the Alter Rebbe's a love of Leilam Idesa, Keich HaAtzmus is the Emek HaPshat and Baal Shem Tov in the Paradis. Lefi zeh, the Rebbe learns be'efen mechudesh of pshat in the Magid. And again, it's not pshat in the Magid. It's like the Rebbe's pshat in the Magid. It becomes a new Teirah. This is Teirah's Deira Shvi of the Magid. The Magid says that Bichlal you can't say Shema Etzem, Shema Mefurish, besides for the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur. Why? What's the Maila of the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Because he's ba'afshata from Gashmias and it's his Gabrus Aruchnis, which means in simple words that the Kohen Gadol has been preparing for 7 days. He was Parash Mi'ishtei and he's fasting, and the neshama of the Kohen Gadol, however, is an eifon of Ruchnis, he's Ba'aliyah, and Memele, he's so not mugdir in Gashmis, even though technically he's really ba'afshata from Gashmis. Memele, he could say Shem Havai. Shem Havai kichsove. He could read the Yud Kei Vav Kei, say the Eibishter's name Mamish, which we never say. The Rebbe takes this Magid and learns a punkt fakerte pshat and puts it into the words of the Magid. The uftu of the Kohen Gadol is not that he's ba'afshata from Gashmis. The uftu of the Kohen Gadol is that he's sai in Gashmis and sai not in Gashmis. Technically, we see as the Kohen Gadol he's standing in a certain day in the year. Yom Kippur is one of the Shin Samachei Yemei Zashana. B'shas he's going in. He's still married. He wasn't Parash Mi'ishte Legamre. Taka Shiva Yomim, he was taken away, but he's still married. He's davening by the par for his family. So he is connected to Gashmis. Zetman though, as on the one hand, the Kohen Gadol is ba'afshata from Gashmis, Aber Afshat von Gashmis means why being in Gashmis, being in the world and not being mugbil to the world. That is the pella of the King God. In other words, the chibur hafchim of sai al derech mokim aron enim and amida, having a goof, being mugbil, and at the same time having bligvul. That comes from noise chibur hafchim, and that's the same word as what the Alter Rebbe is saying. This is the real love of Lelimides. So this is a new pshat in the Magid. It's a ganz another tale. Yeah, not just that. It's the opposite of the pashtus of what the Magid was saying. So let's just be Mesakim over here, the Klolus Einyan. We began that the Pardes is a love of Lelimides, so Mezuch the Eibishter. So in a person, that means you're looking for the chazdon, the eye which is behind the tzir. The Baal Shem Tov says, no, we're not looking for the bligvul which is behind the tzir. Fakert, we're looking for the tzir itself. That's the real etzem ha'adam, is dafke there. The keich ha'gvul shebei is mushrish in the reshimu, which it nennt sich von atzmus nicht weniger von bligvul. Like there's the lashon of Yikach Kerech Yudalet, that bligvul and gvul are brothers, they're equals. One is not higher than the other. Noch kommt the word of Alter Rebbe, which is a love le'lemides of ta'atzmus. So Yitak is supposed to have the union of tziyur, whether it's Eres and Kelim or Chayes and Kelim, for that's the Hamshacha afterwards in Shemini Esrei. The real a love is to reach atzmus, and that's Limsin Nafshe Be'echad. Over here in the Ayim Yem, the connection of the Alter Rebbe is a bit different. But the love is not B'chol Me'eitcha through his bonanus, nor the Pshitas HaAtzmus. And the way we touched up this is Far Peterburg. This is the takeaway. And the way the Rebbe is minded it, it's the word of Amoru Beis Gans. Neman Atzmus. Then there's the Rebbe's Ma'alech as the word of the Alter Rebbe is Neman Atzmus, and Atzmus is Nimna Nimnois, Chibur Hofchim. And that's the Emek Apshat in Shemus, not just Nifna Lekere B'Shmei, but Chibur Hofchim, the idea of connecting one with the other, which is Chibur HaNefesh HaMaguf, which is going to be Pshat in the Chibur of the Eres and the Kelim and the Pardes and the Chayes and the Kelim of the Baal Shem Tov, and that's also going to be Pshat in the Magid and the Mechudesh de Ke'efen. We're not looking for Bligvul Fakert, we're looking for Bligvul Ingvul. So what's the, let's just mamish in one word, what's the difference between this Vart and the Vart of the Baal Shem Tov, the Milo Gvul? The Baal Shem Tov, the way we understand it is, as the Eibishter is lavdafke bligvul, the Eibishter genechet sein Gvul. He's not mugdir in either. Yeah? So, Bapashtos, when a Yid comes and does a mitzvah, and he learns Torah, with a Kviya Sittim, and he's not excited now, the Mesiras Nefesh of Emunah, he's not on fire, it's also the Eibishter. Fakir, the Pasha Tehillim from the Pasha Yid, this is also, the Eibishter is lavdafke in bligvul, the Eibishter could also be bligvul. There's two truths, and they are equal. But even after that, where we begin to respect Seder and structure and Gvul, we still are not going to say that Gvul and Bligvul are the same thing. You have to choose. Amol, you have to have Shabbos is Aveda from Hecher, and Yom Ezacher is Aveda from Gvul. Krishma is Aveda of Limsin Nafshe Be'echad, and Shemini Esrei is Aveda of Gvul. You need to have both. Kommt der Rebbe und sagt, nein, you could have not just Bligvul and Gvul are equals, you could have Bligvul in Gvul. You could have one matzav nefesh. On the one hand, I am in a matzav of Gvul, or le'idach, there's a Bligvul of the nefesh being this gal over here. In Aveda, that would mean, as on the one hand, the way that Rebbe spoke about it a lot of times is a person is in Golus and he's working within the Hagbolos of Golus and he's planning. Or le'idach, it's all with a fire as a Gula kommt. Aber bepashtos a bazei, then if there's such a Amunah Mashiach, so that should be on the cheshbon of the Pratim. You know, Amunah Mashiach, save if Achan shall Pesach, if Mashiach so then you could be Bligvul. It doesn't work in a day-to-day. Zok the Rebbe name. Nimna nimnois memont von ayid to have two opposites b'makom echad. And the fact that it doesn't make sense is obvious. So what? We're talking about keich atzmus, richtig. It's not supposed to make sense. It's just al picheshbon is mucher chazayid have the keich to do two opposites at the same time. And many in yonim, in Aveda, sign Aveda Matzman, Aveda Mazulas, and sign in Chvetz, many different biurim. That's the Aveda, that's the Matan Torah, the Yenim Yedel, the Tachtenim, the Chibur Hofchim, all these in yonim, in the Rebbe's Sprach, is Bekeach Nimna Nimnois, not just that Gvul is Etzem, no Bligul and Gvul together, that's the real answer.